We will not go back to the days of reckless behavior and unchecked excess that was at the heart of this crisis.
If we can end the $700 billion the bailing out firms that had an implicit guarantee from the federal government that they could never fail, that is something I'm determined to end.
Well, a lot ahead in Washington, and it all affects Wall Street. Let's bring in Ed Henry from the White House for more. Ed, looking ahead to next week, big announcement on Monday from Senator Chris Dodd in terms of financial regulatory reform, right?
I mean, he's going to finally put his cards on the table, Poppy, and that's the key here because without Chris Dodd, frankly, right now, I think the regulatory reform effort would be dead. I mean, he's retiring from the Senate, as you know. He was facing a tough re-election. Now that he's been able to sort of put that aside, he's focusing all of his energies virtually on this. But I think the big problem is that he had a Republican partner, if you will, at least for a brief time, in Bob Corker of Tennessee. And now Senator Corker is sending signals that maybe he's not along for the ride anymore. Senator Dodd moving forward without him. The other big question is what's actually going to be in this bill. The suggestions we've gotten is there's going to be, at best, sort of a watered-down version of this Consumer Protection Agency that the President and Secretary Geithner wanted. Just like on health care, this president is pretty desperate right now to rack up some victories. In Wall Street reform, something they promised they'd do there in the first 100 days is something they've really got to get done.
And another huge issue for the millions of unemployed Americans is the jobs bill. And we have a Senate version, we have a House version. Now the Senate version back at the House to be amended. When? Any talk in Washington when this might hit the president's desk?
Well, that's another thing the White House would love to see on his desk before he goes overseas at the end of this coming week. I think that's probably a stretch. But I do think that you're going to very likely see this jobs bill, them work out their differences, at least by the end of March. My sense is that if Congress writ large, but specifically the Democratic leadership, goes home for a 2-week break without dealing with a jobs bill, that's a bad thing in an election year, obviously. So I would bet that it's going to get done by the end of March.
So much to get pushed through right now for this administration. It sort of seems like do or die time, especially for Democrats, and they have those elections coming up.
It does. There's sort of a narrow legislative window in every election year like this before you've really got to, the window closes. And once you get towards the summer and the August recess, these lawmakers are gone in both parties because in the House, they're all up for re-election, 1/3 of the Senate up.
Right.
So you've got to get all this stuff done by, say, July 4th at the latest. That's why they're pushing so hard to get health care done now. It's all sort of colliding, and I think you're right to say it's essentially do or die time for the Obama domestic agenda.
Ed, thank you for always keeping an eye on it. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Bobby.